Happy EEKtober, everybody. We are doing 31 days of scary movies, and today is day 28. I am your host, Melissa Forziat. I'm a keynote speaker, and when I speak, my topic is something I call Take the Doughnut, which is another way to say Carpe Diem. And it comes from this weird thing that happened to me in college where I left an actual donut on a table, and that became an object lesson for me in what it looks like to leave opportunities behind. So now I want to take the donut. And from time to time, I'll issue myself a Take the Doughnut challenge. I'll say there's something that I want to do. And to hold myself accountable for it, I'm going to make it official. But this time, I'm actually opening up the challenge to anybody who wants to join. So here we are for 31 days of scary movies. Okay, today is day 28. We watched Train to Busan. This is from 2016. It's a zombie flick. It's an action flick. It's the only zombie flick on my list. It was directed, and I have to apologize in advance for what's probably going to be a mispronunciation of every single name in this movie. Please know that I deeply love this film, and if I'm pronouncing the names incorrectly, feel free to correct me phonetically somehow in the comments, because I'd like to say these names right. So this was directed by Yeon Sang-ho. It was written by Park Ju-suk and Yeon Sang-ho. And then, okay, so in terms of who this stars, sometimes I keep it kind of lean, but I'm actually going to name a bunch of names here as badly as I'm going to do it, because I don't know, I feel like there's so many important characters in this film. So Gong Yoo plays Seok-woo, who's the dad. Kim Soo-an is Soo-an, the daughter. And then we've got I'm sort of doing this in pairs. So we've got Jung Yoo-mi, who plays Seong-kyung, who's pregnant, and Ma Dong-seok, who's Sang-hwa, the pregnant woman's husband. And then put this guy on his own, the bad guy, if you will. We've got Kim Yoo-sung, who plays Yeon-suk. And then we've got the baseball player who survives the longest, who is Choi Woo-sik, who is Young-guk. And we've got So-hee, who plays Jin-hee, the girlfriend. And then we've got Choi Gui-kwa, who's the homeless man. There are more characters, but to me, those are the ones that really, really jump out, really feel like they have their own story here. If you liked this film, look, I haven't seen beyond this film, but my understanding is that there's a movie or there's an animated prequel called Seoul Station. And then in 2020, there was a sequel called Peninsula. I can't attest to those. I don't know in what way they continue this story, but they're a continuation of this world that we've built. So a few general notes that I want to make first. Obviously, the first thing I should say is that this is the only foreign language film that is on my EEKtober list. Not to say it's the only good horror movie from a country that's, or from a film that speaks other than English, but this is the only one that I picked, and boy, is it a strong entry. Oh my goodness. And part of the reason for that, there's so many reasons for it really, but one of the things that when the movie ends and I'm thinking about all the amazing things that happened in the film, the thing that I am thinking about is this little girl's face. This face breaks every language barrier there is. I'm sorry. I just finished watching it. My heart is just broken. I understand that a lot of people cry when they watch Train to Busan. I cry every time I watch Train to Busan. And my understanding is that people actually cry at different parts. For me, the father-daughter stuff is what kills me. The stuff at the end breaks me in two. Hearing this little girl wail as her dad is crying and like realizing how much he loves his daughter and this was the important thing in his life. I just melt. I'm just shattered. Two completely different verbs. And I'm all of those things. But at one point I watched this film and I immediately went to Reddit and put, does everybody cry at Train to Busan or something like that? And I just saw people recounting the parts that affected them the most. And look, there are a lot of really meaningful relationships in this movie. And I guess a lot of them are tear-jerking and may make people, it meets you where you are, I guess, depending on where you are in your life and who you are. And different parts of this make different people feel emotional. For me, it's the father-daughter stuff that absolutely breaks me. And I think that's one of the things, that's another thing that's a strength of this film, that there could be so many characters in this film that you feel so connected to that it breaks your heart when they come to a terrible end. That's a real accomplishment for this film. I mean, look, we're closing in on 2 hours for this film, but there's a lot of people that we're tracking. Not every film does this so effectively. It's not just efficient. We care about these people. I care about these people. I don't know how they did this so fast. I'm absolutely stunned, especially for an action film where we spend so much of the time in movement, not in dialogue. Like, I don't know, maybe that's its strength. Maybe it's that it's showing us people's hearts, and that's why we connect to this film. I don't know. I'm blown away every time I watch Train to Busan. Um, One of the things that I love about this film is the movement of the film. Now, there's another, so basically, there are two films on my EEKtober list where it's all about the movement. Malignant is one of them. The movement is very different and it's very strange. And I can't say another thing about it because it's all spoiler territory. So if you haven't watched that film or seen that EEKtober recap, go check that out. This one's really interesting to me in a couple different ways. But first of all, there's when the people turn into zombies, they have this really interesting contortionist element. We get a lot of sound design. We're getting a lot of like bone breaking, limbs cracking sound design that's put in. But when you actually, if you were to take the sound away and if you were to look just at what's happening on screen, there's just this incredible contortionist element that's going on that really jumps out at me. It's very impressive. And in fact, I mean, there's one of the ones that jumps out at me the most is there's a zombie who ends up, oh, my whole arm's going to disappear here. There's a zombie who ends up with a dislocated shoulder and is walking around like this. And just the way they captured that movement, it looks very doable for a human, but when it's on screen, it looks very not doable for a zombie. So I just really think about, they must have really choreographed this movement, and it wasn't just letting a bunch of extras figure it out on their own. It was very stylized and very directed. And that brings me to my next point. When you are creating anything with zombies in it, and really this is probably true of vampires and other things as well, you really have to explain what the rules of this world are. There have been a lot of films that have zombies in them, and every film has a slightly different way of explaining how they came to be, if they do that at all, explaining different ways you can kill them. Just you have to create the world, and you have to create the rules of the figures that you put in it. And so with so many zombie movies out there, an effective zombie movie has to fairly quickly start showing you what zombies can do and how they move and what they can't do. And this film does all of those things. And it goes, once people have turned into zombies, they are beyond ambulatory. They can run, they can jump, they can apparently do just about anything in terms of physicality except open doors once they're zombies. So they don't necessarily have like great tactile hand-eye coordination. I don't know, I'm not 100% sure that they could, I think they can climb. We don't necessarily see them climbing up tall things, but we see them climbing up each other. So they're very dexterous. And, in terms of if you're in a chase scene with them, you're going to lose if you don't find some other way out of it. So movement wise, there's certain capability that they have, and it's a lot. They're able to cover a lot of distance really quickly, and that's scary stuff. They also, again, have a very stylized movement. It's a very jerky movement. There's a lot of like awkward limbs, a lot of sort of like broken limb looks, and they have to move through that, but they're not feeling pain, so they can move through that. We also have to learn some of the other things that they're able to do or not do. So when the lights are out, they've got a problem. When they can't see, they can't get to you. They'll move towards noise, but when they can't see, they can't get to you. So these are all important things that we have to learn pretty early on in this process. But the movement itself, and specifically the movement when they're turning, really fascinated me. I loved kind of breaking that down for myself. And then one more thing, there are some pretty incredible visuals in this film. And for me, I know we'll get there later, but the absolute number one visual from this film is that last train that we have to catch when we get our last three characters running onto it. Well, I guess technically four. And they finally get on to the train that's moving, and a whole bunch of zombies run and grab the train, and they're being dragged behind it, and they're climbing up each other, and the pile of zombies is getting bigger and bigger, and they don't care that they're being dragged across gravel and railroad tracks. They feel no pain, so they're being dragged by this train, and then they're climbing up each other. It is such an impressive visual, no matter what angle you get that from. We get overhead shots of it, we get front-on shots of it, wild. We even get sort of the action shot of almost, it looks like it can't be a dolly shot, but it looks like we're being pulled up to watch one of them that's like climbing up all of them and trying to lunge for our protagonists. Just incredible. That image sticks with me. I don't know. I just think, to sum up things before I get into any of the scenes, it is incredible to me how much this movie accomplishes. It is a zombie film. It is an action film. It's a horror film, but it is an action horror film. And so it is moving fast. It's moving at a very quick clip. But I feel like I know all these people. I feel like I know these people, even though I don't speak their language, which is yet another barrier I have to be able to get through to watch this film. And I end up crying so much. This one and maybe like The Monster are two films on this EEKtober list that I come away from. I'm like, why am I crying? My God, to do as much as they did in less than 2 hours, I just can't believe what they accomplished with this film. Okay. Let's talk about some of the scenes. Let's talk about how this unfolded. So we open up, really interesting cold open here. We've got a construction worker statue at a checkpoint for something, and then a truck's going through the checkpoint, and we're finding out that it gets scanned, it gets sprayed, and we're finding out that they can't allow this truck to pass. But the guy who's driving is like, no, I've got to pass through. He puts up a fight, and they let him go through. And fair enough, fine. He doesn't actually cause a problem, but he helps us identify a problem. He needs to get his phone. He loses sight of the road for a second. He hits a deer, and then gets out to check on things. Like, all right, he drives away. Dead deer in the road. We pan right back to the deer, and it reanimates in a real awkward way. Again, it's like that bones breaking sound, and it's sort of like jarring itself back to a standing position. And then it looks at the camera, and it's got like no pigment eyes. And so, look, the guy who is driving the truck, this is a hit and run. Not great, but he didn't cause this pandemic, or is it a pandemic? What are we calling this? He didn't cause this zombie outbreak, to my knowledge, but because we've met him, we see that it's happened. This gives us the way into knowing what the problem is. And then we're just going to get trained to Busan as soon as we see this deer. Now we're going to see a character that we are going to track through this film. We're going to see Seth Wu at the office. He's, the number one on the call sheet for this film. He is a fund manager. He is a guy who is all work and no play. He is telling a team member, probably somebody who works under him, to secure all of their assets, which sounds like maybe that's kind of against the rules or on the edge of an ethical line. But it's a little risky, but that's what he's doing. We'll come back to that later. I think there's an element of that. They've been seeing some trends in terms of the funds they're managing, and he's making a call. He's also going to ask, what's the popular gift for kids? Because we need to find out exactly how estranged he is from Soo-Ann. So we're going to see him now on the phone with Soo-Ann's mother. They are divorced. And she's really got some words for him. She's like, you didn't go to her recital. You work all the time. You make promises that you can't keep, that you don't intend to keep. He's like, look, Soo-Ann can stay in Seoul with me. And she's like, yeah, that's great. That's not the point. I want her to come to Busan, where I am. And she's like, how many times have you told her you'll come with her? Yeah, so many broken promises with you. He says, we're going to visit you soon. That's what's going to happen. She says, well, it's Soo-Ann's birthday tomorrow. You know that, right? And he's like, yeah, I know. So we're going to see him go home to his mom, who's watching Soo-Ann, and she's supposed to be in bed, which she kind of is, but she's having a conversation with probably an imaginary friend. She's like, yeah, I don't know when we're going there. Mom doesn't talk to dad. She's saying all this out loud, and he interrupts. She's like, whoa. He says, look, I promised your mom that we'd go to Busan, but I've got some things to do first. She's like, yeah. It's tale as old as time. I've heard this a million times. She's so disappointed. And he's like, oh, I've got something for you, though. He gives her a gift for her birthday. She opens it up. It's a Wii. She already has one in her room that he's never noticed. So he's like, okay. Well, what can I get you instead? She's like, going to Busan tomorrow. He's like, can't do. She's like, that's what I want. It's the only thing I want. And you're going to get it because you messed up with the Wii. So she says, you work too much. Grant my wish for once. So we're going to see, he goes out to his mom and she's like, since the divorce, she seems to love you both just a little bit less. That feels like what a fun translation that is to think about. She says she wants her family reunited. That's what she wants. I have no indication that Sakwu wants to get back together with her mom ever in this film, but I do, we do certainly get a sense throughout the film that he has a bond with his daughter. So there's that. His mom is going to persuade him to go to Busan. He's just like, Soo-Ann needs you. Okay. Take care of your family. And she's going to put a video camera down next to him. And then he's going to watch the video on the camera. And it was Soo-Ann at her school recital. She was trying to sing Aloha Way as a solo. She looks absolutely miserable and she freezes up partway through and the kids laugh at her. So the next day, I mean, if that doesn't melt your heart, I don't know what does. But the next day, they're driving. So he caved. They're going to go to Busan. They're going to drive to the train station. It's the two of them in the car. And he talks to her about her nerves when she was singing. He says, you have to finish the song. When you start something, you've got to finish it. That's the rule. And we're going to see emergency vehicles passing. It's raining ashes. There's fire. There's just fires happening. But, they forge on. They're going to Busan. So we're going to get to the train station. People are boarding the train. We've got some workers. We've got a baseball team. Everybody's getting on the train. We're going to see a couple of our characters that we'll get to know. We'll see Jin-hee flirting with Young-guk, the baseball player. And we're going to see an old woman with her adult daughter. She's giving her a snack. She's taking care of her, giving her a little egg to eat. Sakwu and Soo-Ann board the train, but he's making a work call. He's still got things going on. He needs to wrap things up in the office. We're going to get a final boarding call for the train, and a woman is going to run onto the train past one of the attendants, or one of the station attendants. And he doesn't notice her because he has his back turned, but she runs on, and it's a little weird, but it looks like she could just be late for the train. She wants to make sure she's caught it. So but then the thing is, we actually see more of her, and she's not okay. She's in pain. She's convulsing. So we're seeing that. That's alarming. We've seen the deer. That was alarming. So we know this should be alarming too. And then the conductor turns around and notices there's a disturbance happening at the top of the stairs, but the train starts to move. They got away from that, they think. Don't have to worry about whatever's happening on that train platform. Sue-Ann looks out the window as the train starts to move and watches as somebody runs, jumps, and tackles another human. And she's like, what? What just happened there? Dad's napping. He didn't notice any of this. So we're going to see that woman who boarded the train last. She's trying to put a tourniquet on her leg because she's got some like purplish something that's lighting up her veins. And then it's creeping up towards her heart. And she's making groaning noises, and it's not looking good for her. Meanwhile, we're going to get Yeon-suk, who I'll call him the bad guy. I mean, look, he's a guy who's only out. He on this spectrum of self-interest to selflessness. He's 100% self-interest for the entire film. Yeon-suk. He's going to ask an attendant to check the bathroom. He's like, I've been waiting for a while. Can you just check what's going on in there? Sue-Ann decides she needs to use the bathroom, so she goes up and looks, and she ends up kind of with them as they're trying to get into the bathroom. They find a homeless man is in the bathroom. And the thing is, you could think he's a guy, maybe he's got a mental illness that he's grappling with, but when Sue-Ann takes a closer look, he seems to be afraid. And he actually says everyone is dead. And she's looking at him and she's really seeing him. Sue-Ann believes that there are actually zombies hiding here. She's seen somebody get jumped in the weirdest way outside. And now she's hearing what this homeless guy is saying. And she's like, we're going to see this woman who was bitten. She's been turning into a zombie. And she's now starting to walk forward through one of the cars, and she is convulsing, and she collapses between the cars in this little vestibule area. Sue-Ann, not going to get into the first bathroom she tried. She keeps walking to the next one, but it's being guarded by Sung-hwa, whose pregnant wife is in there. He sends her onwards. Meanwhile, the woman who was bitten, an attendant is going to find her in the vestibule. She's going to call in the emergency. Seok-woo, who's been asleep, wakes up because his phone's ringing, and he notices Sue-Ann isn't there. Where'd she go? So the coworker on the phone tells him about, this incident is a little bigger than we thought. It's definitely not just an overnight incident in Ansan. It's not a strike. This thing is nationwide. And we're now going to see that there are TVs on the train playing the news, and there's a riot that it's showing. And so meanwhile, the male attendant is walking back to take a look at what this medical emergency situation is that the female attendant called in. Now, Seok-woo needs to see where his daughter is. So he's going to look for her as people are watching the riot on TV. Something weird is happening with these people. That much we can tell. And then we're going to get a better look at what that is. This convulsing woman stops convulsing, and that's when it gets really bad. She rises from behind the attendant, who isn't actually looking at her at this moment. And we hear the bones cracking thing. And then, we're getting a lot of like arched back sort of stuff, just, your basic like contortion happening. We're going to see that her veins are purple now, kind of up through her neck. She groans. The male attendant is running to the emergency. Sue-Ann finally finds an open bathroom and she locks the door. So we're just really laying things out here. We're getting a sense of where everybody is at the beginning. We also know that there's a baseball team in one of the cars. The female attendant is now walking through their car. Unfortunately, attached to her is the zombie, like fully zombie woman who came on board at the last minute. The zombie bites the female attendant, and now she turns quickly. So one of the things that we find out about the rules of the way this film works is if a zombie bites you and it's just a perfectly clean bite mark, it probably is going to happen, the turn's going to happen a little slower. If the zombie gets to your neck and if it's taken huge chunks out of you, the turn's going to happen almost immediately. And because the zombies can move really fast, that means really high power for destruction, because people don't even know what hit them before the zombies already turned, and it's hard to get away. Okay, so now this zombie woman is biting team members. The attendant reanimates right away. Much faster version of the process we saw for the first woman. She's snarling, she's contorting. The male attendant is running to the baseball team car. As people start running out of it, screaming, more people are getting bitten. Some teammates are trying to fight back. And the male attendant is like sending people to a further car to try to get people away from the situation. He calls the conductor. Meanwhile, Saku is like, where's my daughter? He's looking for her. He's knocking on bathroom doors. He sees people running past him. Suan can hear people screaming from inside the bathroom. People are running. Saku goes to investigate the baseball car, and he's like, oh my God, there are people, bitten people are running like zombies. There are zombies in more cars now. This thing is starting to escalate. The reanimating is happening so fast. This thing moves quickly here. We don't spend time in the process. We just let them be scary. Okay, so Syaku finally finds Suan. He picks her up and he runs with her. The male attendant is now a zombie and he's chasing them. It looks like it's a really interesting shot. It looks like it's a dolly shot with the dolly being pulled backwards, and we're getting the zombie kind of running at it. That's what it looks like anyway. So there's a zombie ahead of Saku and Suan, and he just nothing left to do. He just plows into the zombie and pushes it out of the way to try to get through. Meanwhile, Sunwell is still waiting for his pregnant wife to come out of the bathroom. He sees that this disturbance is happening. She comes out and they actually watch a zombie bite somebody. Okay, something's up. So he's going to fight the zombie that he sees, which distracts the zombie long enough for Saku and Suan to get free of that zombie. And Sunwell is going to very adeptly lock the zombie in the bathroom. And the person it bit reanimates, I mean, so fast, and they're all going to run to safety. Okay, so now we've got a bunch of survivors, some people that we're tracking here. They're going to run into a new car. Saku shuts the door to the car that they're in, and at first he won't let Sangwon and his pregnant wife in, and then Suan's screaming for them to come in. She's like, I know those people, this is just mean, what are we doing? And so they let him in and they get into the car. And we're going to find out, like, Syaku was kind of looking at the situation. He's like, I don't think that, because Song was like, I'm getting tired of holding the door. He's like, you might not need to. So Songhwa kind of slowly pulls his hands away from the door. And we realize the zombies cannot open the door. And then Syaku, you can tell he's very vigilant to his surroundings. He works smart, and he realizes, like, I think they might just be attacking because they can see us. And then we're going to see Seung Kang, who the pregnant one, she is going to throw some water on the window in the vestibule door, and she's going to put newspapers over it so they can't see in. And now the zombies quiet down and calm down. So that helps. That was a good trick. This is a good thing that we found out. Songwon was like, great, now that we have a moment, I'd love an apology for the fact that you just tried to get me killed out there, that you wouldn't let me in. And that's going to be interrupted by an announcement from the conductor. Turns out we're not going to stop in Cheonan, which was the next stop. And like, where can we stop? We don't know yet. Yeon-suk, the selfish guy, he is going to call to the conductor, and he's panicking. He's like, no, you have to stop this train. You have to. So Seokwoo gets a call from his mom, and she sounds pretty bad. Sounds like there's some fighting happening around her. She's like, take care of Suan. She just wants to see her mom. And then he hears as she turns into a zombie and the phone cuts. So that's the end of that relationship. And he's sort of dazed and distant, and we hear like the far away sound of Suan trying to get his attention. She's like, is Granny okay? No, Granny is not okay. Granny is definitely not okay. The train slows down. They will try to stop at Cheonan. But when they actually see what's happening there, they don't really want to anymore, because people are getting bitten by zombies left and right on the platform. And so Syaku's like, he shields Suan from it so she can't see all of that. We're going to get a bunch of shots now as we're hearing more from the news. So we're going to see a car, like a multiple car crash as the train keeps rolling by. We'll see a shot of a zombie attendant walking with one shoe, and we see a close up of her face, and she's all like, the veins and it's a good look it's very impressive what they did with the veins. That's very detailed makeup that they had to do, very precise. Okay, we're going to get there's a politician speaking on TV, and he's saying citizens were experiencing riots in all major cities, districts are shutting down, people are taking over government property, so we've called a state of emergency to contain the outbreaks. Refrain from rumors, stay in your homes, just stay calm, trust the government. That's the rule. Meanwhile, the imagery that we're seeing on the news, we're seeing riots in the streets. We're seeing this really cool bit of footage of zombies falling out of people falling out of helicopters, zombies, I think at this point, falling out of helicopters flying overhead, like emergency rescue helicopters, landing on the ground from really high up and then just getting up and running like zombies. Ooh, creepy. We are also seeing fires all over the country. So just really gives you a sense of the scope, because we've been stuck on this train for a little bit now, and we're going to be stuck on this train for a little bit now. And it's important to know that there isn't something safe for them off of this train either. So it makes it very complicated to know what getting to safety looks like. We see people in the train car, they're walking to another safe car, and then Sue-Ann is going to tell her dad that her mom's phone is off, which it feels like an ominous thing. Like she kind of knows what that means. They're trying to figure out, they're in a vestibule, and Sue-Ann's going to give the old woman her seat, and the woman kind of rewards her with a little snack. And we're going to get Seok-woo, Sue-Ann, the old woman, and her adult daughter, Sung-hwa, and Seon-kang. They're all in this one vestibule between the cars. Seok-woo saw this, and he's like, okay, that's a really sweet instinct, Sue-Ann, but you can't do this, not right now. Like, you have to be in this for yourself. You have to look out for yourself. And he's imparting this to her as an important message of survival for his daughter. And it's not wrong, but Sue-Ann feels really bad. And she's like, but we're humans, man. And she's not wrong either, right? She's like, Granny always had knee aches. Oh, I mean, that face. Okay, so we're going to get another announcement. The train is going to stop at Daejeon Station. Apparently there are military there. They're going to secure the train. And that's great. But Yeon-suk on the train has, I guess, more skepticism than that. He's our basic selfish guy. He wants to make sure that this station is safe. So he's on the phone. He's trying to figure out if Daejeon is safe. And meanwhile, we're going to see Seok-woo making a call. He goes to the bathroom to do that, and that leaves his daughter with some of the other people in the vestibule. So Sung-hwa is like, tell me about your dad. She's like, he's a fun manager. He's like, he leeches off others. His wife is like, Sue-Ann's like, no, it's okay. Everybody thinks that. Me too. So Seon-kang kind of likes this girl. She's going to give her a piece of candy, the type of candy that her fetus likes. She's been really craving them when she's pregnant. She calls her fetus Sleepy. Because apparently her husband has been too lazy to come up with a proper name. Soo-Ann's going to feel the baby kick. Very exciting moment, bonding them together. So meanwhile, Seok-woo's making this call. He asks his coworker if this station they're going to stop at is actually safe. He's like, are the military there? The guy says, yeah, but when you get there, you're probably going to be quarantined. So Seok-woo's like, please help. Is there any back channel you can get me and my daughter through, please? So he's like, I'll even give you a stock tip or something. What can I do? And the guy says, sure, sure, sure. And so he's going to offer to help when they get in, or at least agree to it. Meanwhile, we're going to see that Seok-woo sees the homeless man sitting there and ignores him. But the thing is, the homeless man heard this whole conversation. So we arrive at this new station. There's some ominous music. The station is empty. You just know, just because it's empty does not mean it is safe. Everybody's looking out the windows as the train is rolling in. The door opens and people very tentatively get onto the platform. We're going to see Yun Suk, who, the selfish man, he runs to the conductor. He's like, this place, we're going to be quarantined here. I think that you should get back on. We should uncouple the train and we should go the rest of the way to Busan. The conductor's like, no, that's not my instructions. And the guy says, well, where's the military, right? Like, I am the COO of Stallion Express. Don't you know who I am? He has that energy about him. He's like, look, I'm sure the routes to Daejeon are cut off. The city is quarantined. I'm telling you, this doesn't work. They're not going to let us in. Busan is open. Let's go. The conductor says, okay, well, if what you say is true, we should get some of the others and should get more people to safety. Let me check in with the station. Yun Suk is like, we'll have to wait for this. So we're going to see people are in the station. It's empty. They're nervous. They're very alert. They're looking around, hoping that this is a safe space. There's all this luggage that's been left behind. We're going to see as people are walking, Seokwoo kind of goes off-road a little bit. He goes through a barricade and he takes Soo-an in a different direction. And the homeless man wants to go with them. He heard the whole conversation that he had on the phone earlier, and he wants to go to safety with them. Soo-an's like, wait, you're saying there's a quarantine? Like, well, we have to tell everybody else. They have to come with us. Seokwoo's like, we are on our own, Soo-an. Self-preservation is important. You are a child. Soo-an is so sad. She's like, you only care about yourself. That's why mommy left. Ooh. Ouch. Again, not wrong, but also not a great survival instinct that she has. Sunghwa and his wife, Seong-kyung, go down the escalator with a whole bunch of other people from the train. Things are just eerily quiet. This is getting too quiet now. And there's riot gear all over the place and it's super bloody. So why this place is so quiet, I don't know. The homeless man's going to see somebody from the military all the way across the hallway, and he calls to him and starts running to him. Seokwoo's going to follow. He's going to leave Soo-an behind for some ungodly reason. And then we're going to see the people who were on the escalators, Sunghwa, his wife, everybody, they see more military ahead of them. And then when they turn to them, they're all zombies. Every single person in a military uniform is a zombie. So they start chasing all the living people up the escalator. They can run, they can jump. They have like no end to the amount of energy they have. The homeless man is trying to flag down that one guy from the military. And then we're going to see that guy get jumped and bitten by somebody who's a zombie who's from the military. And so this is bad. Now we have to run. And Seokwoo looks back to Soo-an, who he left behind closer to the barricades. And he is running, trying to get away from the zombies behind him. Meanwhile, everybody else is running perpendicular to them through the hallway. And a zombie sees Soo-an and starts to run for her. Sunghwa saves the day and he fights it off. And his wife, Seong-kyung, comes over, grabs her, and they're going to run together to try to get to a safe space. We're going to see the baseball team is taking the initiative. They're waving people onto the station. Seokwoo is trying to get back to his daughter, and he is attacked by a zombie, but he's going to stop it with a book in its mouth. Very clever. I really like this idea. Very good move. I feel like if they had more time to investigate that approach, it would work for them. We're going to see Sunghwa closing. They're trying to close the glass doors to get a little space between them and the zombies and the people who are running down into the platform. Seok-woo, meanwhile, is in the main area of the station itself, and he's fighting off a zombie. And the homeless man comes over and throws his jacket on top of the zombie so the zombie can't see him. And that gives Seok-woo a chance to get free. So the homeless man has saved his life. And so they are going to run for safety behind the glass doors. And now all the men together are trying to hold these doors closed so the zombies can't get through and to give people enough time to get onto the train again. People are running to the station, they're boarding this train, and the zombies are in that particular car, unfortunately. So they spill out to the platform. Now we've released a bunch of the zombies into the station, onto the platform itself, which they hadn't been there a moment ago. So this is problematic because everybody has to get through here now to get onto the train. We're going to see other survivors starting to run onto the platform, and they have to now evade all of these zombies. And we're going to see Yeon-suk, selfish guy. He is like, can we just leave now? I don't care who's on this train or who's not on this train. We're on this train. We need to be saved. The zombies are now going to put pressure on the glass on the second story window, and they're all going to burst through and fall onto the train itself. So they're falling onto the train, falling onto the platform. There's so many of them now. And we're going to see that one zombie with the dislocated shoulder is going to separate. He's going to get in between the old woman and her adult daughter. And so now we're going to get multiple groups of people. We're going to see the old woman. She is going to be picked up by Soo-an and Seong-kyung, the pregnant woman. And then the daughter is going to go with Jin-hee, who was the girlfriend from the baseball team, and one of the attendants. So we've got those two groups. We're going to see the homeless man gets on the train with Soo-an, so he's going to join that group. And then, so that's two groups. But those survivors, they're on the train. The zombies are outside. Jin-hee knows that she's got a bunch of friends from the baseball team. She wants them to get onto the train too, but a bunch of the guys are up trying to hold the doors. Yeon-suk wants to leave. So the attendant is going to call for the conductor to depart, and the train is going to start moving. In the station, we've got all the guys trying to hold the doors, the glass doors, and they lock it, but then there's so many zombies pressing against it that they burst through and the glass breaks. So the men are just trying to run and catch the train now and keep away from zombies. The baseball team, they're young and agile, and they get down there first. And that's bad news for them because there's zombies on the platform. So a bunch of them are going to get bitten straight away. Meanwhile, we've got Seok-woo, Sung-hwa, and Young-guk, one of the baseball team players who gets through. They keep running. Two of them get onto the train. Sung-hwa kind of has to go off-road to fight a bunch of zombies, and then he catches the train. And now we've got people on the train in a few different groups. We've got the conductor calling Central. He's like, is Busan clear after all of this? And they're okayed for Busan, but who really knows? Who knows if Busan's okay at this point? All right, so now we need to sort of take stock of where people are. We've got the homeless man, Seong-kyung, the pregnant woman, Soo-an, the youngest child, the young child, and we've got the old woman. They're all stuck in a vestibule, and there's glass broken on one side and an open door on the other. So very gently, Seong-kyung leads them into one of the bathroom stalls so they can lock themselves in there. Zombies swarm them from the outside, but they're inside and they're okay. We're going to see up further in the car, there's a bunch of people who are on one car that seem to be pretty safe, and they're fogging up the glass door with a fire extinguisher so the zombies can't see in. The conductor announces that they are in fact going to Busan, but Yeon-suk, the selfish guy, is kind of worried that they're not going to be let in. We're going to see Jin-hee, the girlfriend, get a call from Young-guk, the baseball player. She is in the car with a bunch of people who are safe, the one that they were using the fire extinguisher on. He is not with her. He's separated from her with a couple of the guys with Seong-wook and with Sung-hwa. He's okay though, and they're crying to each other, but he's like, the rest of the team died. And so they're mourning that together. Turns out they do actually have kind of a bond. She was flirting with him earlier. It looks like they hadn't really made anything official between each other. It was still that awkward phase, but this kind of breaks them through that pretty quickly. Sunwa is going to get a hold of his wife and Suan on the phone. And they are trapped in a washroom in car 13. The problem is that our three men are in car 9 right now. That's 4 cars away, and there are a bunch of zombies in between. Young Suk, meanwhile, Young Gook found out that his girlfriend and a bunch of other survivors are in car 15. So they're in 9. Suan and Sungwa's wife are in 13. And then if they go 2 more cars, they can get to the rest of the survivors. So Young Gook's like, all right, that's that. So he starts wrapping up his arms, trying to get, some security around zombie bites. He's getting himself suited up. He grabs a bat. The others are going to follow suit. They're going to need to make their way through the cars. Very heroic thing. So now we get into some really it's funny because I feel like this is where I think the action starts, but no way. There was action the whole time. But the action feels different from this part. It's very I don't know. In this situation, it's more about working smart than working hard in some cases, because we're learning little techniques along the way. But it's action the whole way through. So, okay. They have a bunch of cars to get through. So they're going to get in as soon as they come out of the first tunnel that they're in, they're going to step forward and the action music begins. And the zombies see them and they're going to brute force this thing. They're going to fight their way through that first car. Then they get to the second car and it's full of the baseball players. And one of the, young, poor kid, this is his team. These were his closest friends. This was his whole world. He's not going to beat them over the head with a baseball bat. So the other 2 are like, okay, we're going to take this one. So they start like beating back all of the baseball players, but they're outnumbered, which is a problem until the train goes through a tunnel and it gets dark. And all of a sudden, all the zombies get confused. Where'd they go? Where'd the people go? But they're right in front of them. And they're all just like, okay, let's take stock of this. So they, another convenient thing that happens is that further back, one of their bags had a bunch of baseballs in it, and it opens up and a bunch of the baseballs spill out from the luggage rack overhead. And so it makes a loud noise and the zombies get distracted by that. And it gives them a chance to start making their way through the car and learning how to distract them with noise. So they're going to get out of there before the lights come back on. Now they've got a couple more cars to go. So they're going to wait on this next one to get into a tunnel. And Seokwoo is going to, there's a lot more zombies in here. So Seokwoo is going to grab Sunghwa's phone. He's going to program something. He's going to program his number in. And he's going to slide the phone pretty far into the car. And then when the tunnel gets dark, when they go through the tunnel and it gets dark, he's going to call him and the zombies will be attracted to the phone so they can get away safely. And so, okay, so they've been learning some little tricks here that are going to be helpful to them. And that brings them all the way to the bathroom, the vestibule with the bathroom stall that their loved ones are hiding in. So Sunghwa is going to knock on the door. We're going to get a little reunion with him and his wife. And then Suan's going to see Seokwoo, her dad. It's so sweet. And the lights come on and the men don't want to be attacked by zombies. So they're going to hide in the opposite stall, but they're just regrouping now. We've got the group together-ish. We're going to get a little trash talk, a little loving trash talk between Sunghwa and Seokwoo. Sunghwa is like, yeah, happy you could see your daughter again. Only could happen because I saved her earlier, you jerk. And Seokwoo's like, you have such a tacky ringtone. Why? And he's like, it's tacky. Well, I don't even know how to change it. And our young Gook chuckles. He's like, oh, you adults with your phones and you don't understand how to change your ringtones. So Seokwoo is going to check his phone. He's going to see there's another tunnel coming up and it'll give him 2 minutes to try to get away. Sunghwa gives us a really sweet moment. The trash talk's over. Sunghwa is like, you know what? I bet you never get to play with your daughter. But when she gets older, she's going to understand why you work so hard. Dads get a bad rap and no praise, but it's all sacrifice what you do. It was a sweet moment. That really hits home. So we're going to see now what's happening with the survivors in car 15. Jin Hee, the girlfriend, she gets a text message from Young-guk. She realizes, like, okay, there are a bunch of people who've been, they're all survivors and they're not with them, but they're coming. They're headed to car 15. So she's going to start telling everybody in car 15 about this, and they are not into it. But mostly it's because Yeon-suk has a loud voice, the selfish guy, and he's like, how on earth could they possibly get here without getting bitten? Let's think about this. Let's use our brains. No way this is safe for us. We can't risk everybody in here to let them in. Like, they could be infected, and nobody's disagreeing. Jin Hee is disagreeing. She hates this. The only person she still knows in this whole world is going to be left out if they follow suit with this. But nobody else who's in the car wants to dispute this because they want to be kept safe. So we're also going to see actually that the old woman's daughter, her adult daughter, hates this too because she's separated from her mother. Okay, so now we're going to get into that next tunnel, and all of the bathroom survivors are going to come out, and their plan is they're going to go up and they're going to slide along the luggage racks all the way to get across the car with all of the zombies walking below them. We're going to see that Seok-woo kind of uses the sound distraction thing. He throws a bag to the back, and the survivors mostly get to the next car, but the homeless man falls down into the seat. So Seok-woo's going to go back to get him. The lights come on and they're going to sort of hide in one row in the back. The zombies are coming closer. They're going to make a run for it. And just when they go to do that, the homeless guy steps on a soda can or something, and makes it crinkle. And now it's like, run. And so they're going to run as fast as they can to try to get out. Sung-hwa is going to try to hold the zombies back at the door. He's trying to close the door on them, but they're kind of a little bit, they've kind of wedged themselves in the door and they're trying to get in. So he is doing everything he can. He's using all of his strength to try to hold these zombies back. Meanwhile, the rest of them have gone to the front of the car to try to get to car 15, and the people in car 15 won't let them in. So now we've got a situation because they can't move forward. They can't go back. Sung-hwa can't hold this door forever. We are going to get the baseball player, Young-guk. He's trying to break the door to car 15 with his bat. And Jin Hee's hating all this, but she's being held back in car 15. So Seok-woo goes back to help Sung-hwa. He's trying to like beat back all of the zombies with his baseball bat, and he's just hitting them and trying to get them to stop wedging themselves into the door. Sung-hwa's trying to hold them back, but a zombie bites his hand, and we all know it. We know what that means, but it's going to take him a little bit longer to turn than it normally would, so there's that at least. Young-guk is trying to break the door with the bat up front to car 15, and so he is fighting, like they're trying to get they're trying to get into car 15. Yeon-suk is trying to keep him out of car 15. There's chaos in car 15. And the adult daughter wants to get to her mom because she's seen her mom now. Soo-an is crying as she watches her dad trying to hold off a bunch of zombies. And then she's crying, looking at the Young-suk, the bad guy, like, why won't you let us get in? Meanwhile, Seon-kyung realizes that the writing's on the wall for her husband, and she's crying and she's looking back. She walks towards Sung-hwa, and Sung-hwa looks at Seok-woo and says, okay, this isn't working. You need to go back and get your daughter. Please take care of my wife. He's going to take one for the team here. And Seok-woo is going to run to his wife, and he's going to make sure she leaves with him. And Sung-hwa calls back to her. He says, Yoon-seon, that's the baby's name. And she's like, oh, this last thing he said to her is the baby's name. The doors that he's been trying to hold breaks. And now he's doing his best to fight off zombies with his brute strength. And then they bite him, but he's still holding him back for as long as he can until he's going to turn himself. We're going to see now Seok-woo and Young-guk, the baseball player, are fighting Yeon-suk to get the door open to car 15. As Sung-hwa turns, all the survivors now get to the safe car 15. Everybody, they finally break through that last car, they get in. Soo-an is crying. Seok-woo is going to grab her. He's reunited with his daughter. Only the old woman is left behind, and she sort of provides a distraction for the zombies so they can't get to the rest of them in time before they close the door. So she's going to get attacked by the zombies as her adult daughter watches. All right. Now, Seok-woo is like, this guy, this Yeon-suk, with his, I'm not letting everybody else in because I want to be safe. He's so angry. He punches him. He's like, why did you do this? And Yeon-suk goes for his next move. He's like, you're a zombie. You turned. And he announces it to everybody in the car. He's like, this guy's infected. They're all infected. And so it creates this very like, everybody wants to stay away from them situation. And they're told that they need to go into the vestibule. Like they are going to be relegated to the vestibule. The vestibule is further away from the zombies, but they don't want to be anywhere near these survivors that just entered the car. And so they feel very like ostracized. They feel very persecuted in this situation. But nobody's disagreeing. So Soo-an and Seon-kyung are just sort of holding each other and they're crying, and our protagonists have to go to the vestibule. But Jin-hee, the girlfriend of the baseball player, is like, I'm joining you because I can't stand these people. They're the worst. They're the absolute worst. So our people who had been hiding out in the bathroom, who joined car 15 the latest, they're now in the vestibule. They've been relegated there, and the door to the main car 15 has now been barricaded. And the adult daughter, who has hated all of this, she's just sitting there considering the sacrifice that her mother just gave. And she sees her mom as a zombie on the other side of the door going back towards car 14. And she's like, you know what? Thanks, Mom. I hate these people. People should do nice things like you did. And she is going to very slowly go over to her mom, zombie mom. She's going to like sort of put her hand up and reach for her. And then she's going to let them all into the car. She's like, screw these people. They're the worst. I hate them. I don't want to be a survivor with these people. So yeah, the zombies are going to attack everybody in car 15. And the camera is going to pan through this attack in this car. Meanwhile, we're going to see in daylight, the train is speeding through. The conductor's trying to figure out if they can get into Busan, and he's still not getting an answer. But everything's quiet in the vestibule. That's good, right? At least those people have some peace. Everybody's in mourning. Soo-an is looking incredibly sullen. Seok-woo goes to her, and he sort of kneels, crouches down next to her, and he touches her hand, and he sort of holds her finger, her little finger. And then he holds her whole hand, and he's like, it's your birthday. Don't worry. I'm going to take you to your mom. Soo-an's like, but aren't you scared? He says, yeah, I'm scared. She says, well, I was so scared. I thought I'd never see you again. I practiced that song just for you. That's why I couldn't sing, because I didn't see you. Will you stay with me now? Look at her face. Her face. How can you look at that face? And he's tearing up. I'm tearing up. Oh my God. What a perfect little girl they found for this. Oh. Okay. So Ku's going to make a call and it doesn't go through, but then he gets a call back from the guy on his team, from his analyst. And we found out that Busan did succeed in the initial defense. So in theory, it's safe there. But there is some bad news. this whole thing started at YT Biotech, our project, our plant. Is there any chance? And then, so his analyst has had a little time with this. He's like, is there any chance this is all my fault? Like, this is all my fault. I'm partly responsible for this. Aren't we all? And Sekou is going to reassure him. He's like, no, it's not. But he doesn't believe that. And then the call ends and he cleans himself up. He's in a bathroom stall. He cleans himself up and he just cries. Like, what a nightmare they have created. Okay, so the train's going to stop. The conductor is going to call back. There's a blockage on the track. They can't go forward in this train. They are currently at East Daegu Station. So they've got a couple options. They can either wait for a rescue team, but how long is that going to be really? Who can rescue them? Or they can find another train to get to Busan. So his plan is he's going to hop the tracks and look for a working train that he can move past this blockage. And he's going to put it onto the leftmost track. And whoever can get to the leftmost track, they'll go on to Busan. So we are going to see that the people in the vestibule are hearing this announcement, but there are a couple other people hearing this announcement, which is a surprise to us because we thought everybody else on this train was dead. Turns out Yeon-suk, the selfish guy, and the attendant that was in his car are hiding in a bathroom. So the conductor is going to get off the train. He's looking for another train. Sekou tells everybody, look, I heard that Busan is safe, so maybe we should try. And so the survivors are going to get off the train. The conductor is going to find a train. He's going to start pulling it out for the survivors to find it and starts moving it. Meanwhile, Yeon-suk is in the bathroom with the attendant and he's like, yep, the coast is clear, but you should go first. Yeah, it's fine. It's safe out there. You should go first though. And then we'll get to the train. And then the attendant goes out, sees zombies, and Yeon-suk is just going to push him out all the way so he can get eaten by zombies as the distraction. Yeon-suk's going to get away. This is a move that's going to work for him more than once, unfortunately, because this guy's a jerk. He's such a jerk. He's the worst. So Yeon-suk escapes. He's looking for this next train. The conductor pulls the train into view, but unfortunately, he is going to watch as another train coming in the opposite direction is on fire, is out of control, and it crashes. It crashes into one of the other trains that's in the station. And unfortunately, that is going to pin in a fairly precarious position almost all of the rest of our survivors. They're going to have to get out of this situation to get to the new train car. So we're going to see Young-guk, the baseball player, and Jin-hee, his girlfriend. They're going to try to cut through. There's a train on the track that their doors open. So they're going to get onto the train, hoping they can hop off the other door on the other side to keep going and looking for the train they need to get on. But unfortunately, when they get into that car, the other door is jammed and they can't open it. So they're trying to open it. Meanwhile, the other person who wasn't caught up in that fiery train crash was Yeon-suk, our selfish man, who gets onto the car with a zombie chasing him. And he's like, well, I need another distraction. He's going to throw Jin-hee out towards the zombie, and the zombie is going to attack her. And so now Young-guk is like, wait, my girlfriend. And so he's going to try to take care of her as Yeon-suk is like, great, 2 distractions. He's going to finally get the door open. And Young-guk is going to sit there with his fallen girlfriend and he's going to hold her until she turns. And then he's going to get bitten himself. It's such a young love. I've heard that people find that like a really sad scene, and it's never really been the scene that did it for me, but what a beautiful gesture. What a beautiful moment. What a beautiful we're in this together sort of a, I think when they first got on the train, there was this flirting energy, but they hadn't really made anything official and they'd never had the talk about what they are or if they want to be anything. They never really made any sort of a move, but I mean, they care about each other and you could tell through everything that they did for this whole movie. Okay, so Yeon-suk is now running, trying to get to the train that the conductor freed. So he's one person who's trying to get to the train, but what about everybody else who survived so far? So we've got Seok-woo, who's unconscious from that fiery train crash situation. He wakes up to the faraway sound of Soo-an crying and screaming for him. They're pinned between the fiery train crashed into another train, and they're sort of like pinned between them. Yeon-suk is going to run onto the new train, but he before he can get onto it, he twists his ankle. So the conductor comes out to help him, and great, another distraction. He is going to be bitten by zombies, and that gives Yeon-suk enough time to get onto the platform. Not on the platform, on the train that the conductor had freed up. Okay, so we've got a few people that we're still following here who need to get onto this train. Seok-woo and his daughter Soo-an, Seon-kyung, the pregnant woman, and the homeless man. They're all pinned between these two trains. They're trying to get free. It's a very tight squeeze. Zombies are like kind of bursting through the glass. It's a very precarious situation, and the homeless man is going to sacrifice himself so they can all get free. Or at least the rest of them get free, and he's going to die. I'm so sorry. You really tried. He did some good things in this film. Okay, so now we've got three of them still running for safety. Seok-woo, his daughter Soo-an, and Seon-kyung, the pregnant woman. Zombies are running and jumping in pursuit of them. They're all trying to catch this moving train. The three of them get on, but the zombies are right behind, and one of them grabs the back of the train, and now the rest of them grab that zombie, and so it just becomes this growing tail of zombies, and there's zombies trying to run up other zombies, trying to get closer to them. It's scary stuff. So impressive. Again, from every single angle, this is the coolest idea and so ominous. And so Seok-woo is trying to kick them off. They're holding the train by their hands, so he's trying to kick their hands off so they just fall off. And eventually they do. They all tumble to the ground, and the train keeps going. And now we have one last moment where we feel like maybe there's safety. We've got three of them on the train, and they're breathing hard, but okay, they're the survivors. Seok-woo is going to go to the conductor's car to, take control of the train. Unfortunately, Yeon-suk is inside, the selfish guy, and even more unfortunately, he was bitten. And he's been slowly turning this whole time. And he's still just a little bit himself. And it's hard to say whether it's better for him to be himself or a zombie. But he's almost a zombie. So he's going to open the door because he's not fully a zombie yet. So he opens the door and he says, "Mister, please bring me to Busan. Please help me. Please bring me home. My mother's there." Seok-woo's like, "You're already infected." And so he's so devastated to hear this. And Yeon-suk turns right then and he attacks Seok-woo on the moving train. And Soo-an is screaming. And now we're going to alternate between Soo-an screaming enough that zombie Yeon-suk wants to get him. And then, like, obviously her dad doesn't want that to happen. So he's going to try to keep pulling him back. So there's this fight happening. And eventually Seok-woo says, "All right, he sacrifices himself. He blocks the zombie's mouth with his arm and keeps it there so he can't get to Soo-an. And then he's battling him, trying to get him off the train. Seok-woo finds a chain on the train and he's going to wrap it around his waist. He's going to toss himself and the zombie off of the train, but he's being held by the chain. So the zombie falls off. And now Seok-woo is going to climb back up, but he was bitten, and we all know it. Your heart just breaks because he's just getting back up to say goodbye to his kid and to make sure that they're going to know how to get to their next place safely. So he's starting to feel slowly the effects of the turning happening. So he's just got a little bit of time. He's going to go into the conductor's car. He's going to bring his daughter Soo-an in there. He's going to bring Seon-kyung in there. And he's going to explain to them, like, okay, here's the throttle, here's the brakes, here's what you do when you need to stop the train. He's going to say goodbye to Soo-an, and she's just crying. And he says to Seong Kyung, he's like, stay with her, okay? Like, Busan is safe. Just stay with her. Someone's like, don't go, father. Just please don't leave me. Don't go. And then this, like, if her words weren't enough, whoever got this shot of her hand gripping his arm, like the sleeve of his arm, she's just like, don't go. Oh, the gripping, her little tiny hand gripping his shirt. Um, she's like, come with us, don't go. And he's crying and she's crying. And his bitten hand grabs her little hand. She's like, don't go, don't go. And he runs out. She's like, no. She freaks out and he shuts the door behind him and she's screaming. And Seong Kyung knows to like scoop her up and not let her go. Like, stay in this car. Nothing bad can happen to you in this car. And he runs to the back of the train and he's crying while she's screaming. And we hear her voice screaming the whole time. And he starts, as he's turning, he starts getting these flashes of baby Suan, of him, of her little feet, of him holding her. And as he's turning into a zombie, he starts to smile because he's having this beautiful memory of Suan. And I got to tell you, of all the people who have turned, he's done some good things, right? Like, he's earned this. And he's the only one we see who seems to get a peaceful moment before he turns. And so he's just having all of these flashes of her as we hear her screaming in the background. But then that starts to fade and the music is swelling. And it's just this emotional music. And then, very artistic choice here. We don't see him turn, but he makes a choice just before he does, that he's going to like stretch his arms out and he's going to fall off of the train. He's going to commit suicide right before he becomes a zombie so he can't attack his daughter all the way to safety. So he just falls off of the train and Suan is devastated. She's wailing, and Seong Kyung is holding her, and they're both crying. They've lost a lot. The train, however, keeps moving. And we're going to see a little bit later inside the car, they are exhausted. Suan is whimpering a bit because she probably just doesn't have the strength to cry that much anymore. And Seong Kyung sees that there's a blockage on the tracks right before a tunnel. So she stops the train. They disembark and they have to walk through this tunnel. They have to go the rest of the way on foot. Seong Kyung is feeling some pain. Looks like the fetus is giving her some trouble. Suan is vigilantly, she's gripping her arm and vigilantly escorting her, and they're going to walk together very slowly through this dark tunnel. First, they have to get through a whole bunch of dead bodies that are mostly dead, except one little jump scare zombie arm just kind of goes right in the foreground. But they have to walk through this dark tunnel. Terrifying. Absolutely not. No way. Is there any way around this tunnel? I'd be asking. On the other side of the tunnel, we are going to see that there are men with rifles that are trained on the tunnel exit. And one of them sees something. He's like, yeah, it looks like two figures walking, like maybe a woman and a young girl. He can't verify the subjects. They can't be sure that these people aren't zombies. They can't see them clearly. And they are ordered to kill these two people. And so the guy is one of the guys with the rifle, he's aiming at them. He's aiming right at the head of Seong Kyung. And he starts to pull the trigger just a little bit. And then we hear Suan singing. She's singing Aloha. And we're going to see her face. She's so scared and she's singing and she's gripping Seong Kyung's arm. And the men are like, oh, there's singing happening. These are survivors. And a whole bunch of them run towards them to save them. And just the closing frame of this, we just have the close up of Suan's tear-soaked, devastated, terrified face as she finishes the song because her dad told her to finish the song. It's so beautiful. this little girl and her cute voice and her sweet face and her innocent eyes and singing the song that her dad told her, like, she can't see him. It was a problem before, but now she's like, no, my dad loves me and I'm doing this for him. Ah, it's so good. It's so emotional. It's hard to talk about. Okay. Um, that relationship just gets me every time. I'm actually very curious to know, for anybody who's watching this, like, what is I'm not assuming that everybody finds that the most emotional moment of this movie. So, like, is there a pairing or a grouping that's particularly that you feel particularly connected to? If you cried in this film, where did you do that? Like, what were the scenes that got you? Um, yeah, because I have a feeling this movie meets you where you are in terms of what your life is and who you are and what kind of relationships you have. So, yeah. It's so good. I just, and I've just been debating to say about the end, like, as we get to the end and we see these people with these guns ready to shoot on sight any zombie that comes through or rescue any survivor, but they can't tell the difference. I can't help but thinking of Night of the Living Dead, in terms of putting that quandary in front of them. And I'm not going to say what happens in Night of the Living Dead in case you haven't seen that film, but I got to that part of this film and I was like, oh, are they going to Night of the Living Dead this? Wasn't sure which way they were going to go. And so it's just an interesting choice in how they've ended this film. But also, I don't know, just I am just so impressed with the number of things they accomplished in this film in such a relatively little bit of time. I just really feel like I know and am connected to so many characters. And the one that I'm not connected to, the bad guy, if you will, Yun Suk, I really love to hate him. He's the worst. He's the absolute worst. He deserved, like, oh man, the number of people that would have survived this film if not for him, I'm telling you. But yeah, like, even the guy that I have no real, like, fleshed out understanding of who he is, I still have a feeling when he comes on screen. So, I mean, just incredible, this movie. That's what I thought about Train to Busan. What did you think about Train to Busan? I would love to hear your feedback, but even more importantly than your general feedback, or just as importantly as your general feedback, I'd love to know how scary you think this movie is, because my scary meter is busted. I've watched so many horror movies that they don't scare me these days. So I'd love to know from you, where does this rank on your scary meter from 1 to 10? If 1 being not scary, 10 being so scary, and anywhere in between, where do you think this movie falls? Let's see kind of what average we get to with everybody. Next time, we are going to be on day 29 and we're going to watch The Shining. It's a 1980 film. It's a psychological film. It's certainly a famous film. If you haven't seen it, you're in for a really interesting journey. And if you have, let's rewatch it and see what you all think and talk about it together. It's definitely an iconic film. So if you haven't seen it, you're about to, a whole lot of other things are probably going to make more sense in terms of movie and TV references that are made to this film. But yeah, that's the one that we're going to tackle next time. And I hope that you'll join me for that. Happy EEKtober, everybody. Get spooky, get donuts.